evening to me and to some of our guests. I appreciate one of our guests is probably early evening. Welcome to the Hit and the Turnbuckle podcast. It is roughly 10 past 11 p.m. over here in the UK. So yes, I am wearing my pajamas underneath my top. I'm not going to lie. But first off, I just want to say a special thank you to one of our guests, Fiona Lochrin from Inside the Ropes joins us. Fiona has been an absolute star with the NWA guys. She went off her own back. She asked me via message, would you be interested? I said, absolutely. And she wanted me to put in an email to him. I was like, hey, I'm not going to say no to any of them. So thank you so much, Fiona. I know you've had a pretty long travel schedule over the weekend. So I do appreciate you joining us. You've had a long weekend and a successful weekend at 1PW. So congratulations to all of those guys. But Fiona, I'm normally the master of ceremonies. As you know, I normally get given the opportunity to introduce our guest. But I thought it would be good tonight for you to do it.
No pressure. Okay. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. It's really good to be back. It's nice to see you again, so I'm really happy to be here. Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Tonight's guest is your pal and my pal Sal, all the way over from NWA out in the States. Sal, welcome. It's nice to see you.
Oh, yes, no, it's great to be here. I'm so glad you guys can have me. And time differences are so insane sometimes. I actually just came from Arkansas. I did Raw on Monday, and my brain, a long time ago, I used to travel with Brian Hebner, legendary referee, one of my favorite humans on the planet. And he would always refer to Eastern Central Time as God's time. That's God's time. So I have that burned in my brain now that no matter where I am in the world, Eastern time is God's time, and I try to. If you can center everything off God's time, you're doing okay. So yeah, it's a little after 6 here in God's time.
In God's time. Well, I can assure you that God will be creeping up on us soon. It's going to be the midnight hour, very, very shortly.
God bless.
So we'll be heading into Tuesday. Fun enough, Raw is on in about an hour or so's time over here. We get it at like 1 a.m. But anyway, speaking of wrestling and all things wrestling and watching wrestling, how did it all begin with you, Sal? So to give you an idea with us in the UK, now I think we're about the same age. I think you're 40. I'm not going to ask Fiona.
But yes. So I won't put a number on it. We'll just say I was born in 82. How's that sound?
So I was born in 84, so we're not far. But to give you an idea, you're older, yeah, you're older. But to give you an idea of what it was like, so between 65 and 85, year 1965 to 1985 in the UK, we used to have a program called World of Sport that was on the TV, and at 4 o'clock on a Sunday every week there was wrestling. It was Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, etc.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then probably the 89 was my first recollection of having Sky, which gave us the WWF at the time. And my first recollection of that would be Hogan and Warrior at WrestleMania 6. They were doing a press conference. They're both in suits, which was really weird seeing Ultimate Warrior in a suit.
Yes.
With the paint and the hair. After that, we obviously went through, we used to then have WCW come along. Now, I was talking to Jeremiah about this, and we used to have it on a Friday at 7. So I used to record it on Monday. We used to get it on a Friday. And it used to be on TNT.
I remember that.
On the Cartoon Network after Johnny Bravo, the program.
That's amazing.
So anyway,
it was 10 p.m. it switched, wasn't it? It's like 10 p.m. on the dot. It switched over to TNT,
and that was it. We used to, so we didn't really have the Monday Night Wars, but anyway. Growing up as a kid, Sal, what was it like with wrestling? Was there still a lot of promotions? I think I remember Cornette was probably in WCW, NWA.
Yeah, so I grew up in California.
Okay.
And so I was just hit over the head with Vince's stuff. As long as I can remember, I've watched wrestling. I always tell this story of, like, when did you know you wanted to be a wrestler? And I remember as early as first grade in Miss Bradshaw's class, where we would go around the class and like, what are you going to be when you grow up? And little Timmy wanted to be a plumber, and little Johnny wanted to be a lawyer, and little Freddie wanted to be a dinosaur, and I wanted to be a pro wrestler. And Miss Bradshaw was like, well, little Freddie's got a better shot at being a dinosaur than you do a pro wrestling, right? And so like that's always, wrestling's just always kind of been on. I grew up watching WWF.
Okay.
I didn't have access to cable until probably 93.
Okay.
So Vince's syndicated stuff is what I knew, and then anything that would sneak through the cracks, but that was very infrequent, shockingly, for the LA area.
Okay.
But I was such a nerd that I found magazines, right? And that's where I was exposed to this whole world of wrestling outside of what Vince presented. So like in my brain, I knew who Ric Flair was from way before I saw Ric Flair perform, just because I saw him in magazines.
Yeah.
And Dusty and Magnum and all these guys. And especially like Magnum's is such a great example, because by the time I saw an actual WCW show, Magnum had already had his accident and wasn't even wrestling anymore. So he just existed as this fantasy wrestler in my brain for years. As he was just this guy that like he was going to be the guy, and same with like the Von Erichs, that whole Dallas territory. I used to follow via the Actor mags and via all those magazines. But it was I'll always say, going back, Hulk Hogan's the guy that brought me into, I was a kid and it was Hulkamania, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I was sucked in by Hulkamania is what got me watching, but Savage is the guy that kept me.
See, I had the same thing. I was a big Hogan fan, but I always used to watch the things like Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, the
yes.
I was always into I was a Hogan guy initially, but I always found myself that Intercontinental title was my thing. It was like Bret Hart and Piper and things like that.
Well, see, and it's weird. I'm just a natural heel, because it was usually the heels that Rick Rude, Perfect, Macho Man, guys that were Savage more so than anybody, just because Savage in one Savage promo, he would laugh, he would cry, he would yell, he would talk slowly. Like, he ran through every gambit of emotions humanly possible in one 90-second bit. But then he also changed his gear constantly, and that's real big. Like, if you follow me in my NWA stuff, you'll never see me in the same set of gear, and it's patterned after mainly Savage at WrestleMania 4, where he changed his gear for all 4 matches, or Rick Rude, who always had different gear.
Have you managed have you managed to do Rick Rude and appear on 2 programs in one night?
Yes. I've been fortunate enough where I've been on a lot of different programming, like within the same week. Like in 1 week's time, I appeared on ROH on HDNet, ECW on TNN, and Impact on Spike. That was all 1 week's time.
That is a good thing to do. I mean, we used to get Fiona, I think I'm right. Do you remember Bravo, the TV station?
Yeah.
ECW used to be on like 3 a.m.
Yeah. At ridiculous times. You get the old VHS tape in and record it, because you wouldn't be allowed to stay up at that time of night.
100. So I again, ECW is another one of those things where like I found out about, like I remember vividly my little brother and we would wrestle in the backyard, not like the kids do nowadays, but like we would mimic the guys we saw on TV, but we would also like do Royal Rumbles and like just to throw each other off the mattresses or whatever. But we would always fight to be like, I want to be Ahmed Johnson, I want to be Shawn Michaels. And one guy we always fought over being was Sabu. Keep in mind, we had never seen this dude wrestle ever. We'd never seen him wrestle until he showed up in WCW. But we'd see this startup guy going through tables, doing moonsaults in magazines, and we're like, oh, that's the dude. That guy's amazing.
Pouring out his head and everything. Cool.
And so it was a network in California called Prime Sports that picked up ECW in '96, in early '96, and it was on a Friday night, Saturday morning at 3 a.m. And I can't tell you how many VHS tapes I popped in just to catch it.
Speaking of ECW, we've got Just Incredible on in a couple of weeks.
Dude, he's the best. I'm such
Yeah.
a huge Just Incredible guy. Actually, one of my career highlights is the Ring of Honor. I can't remember what show the name of the show, but it's the Carnage Crew, and what was the name of our group? All us little young
Hold on.
drug guys. Hey, Special K. There it is.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's the Special K Carnage Crew blow off cage match. And Dusty Rhodes comes in and he gives us all bionic elbows. And Just Incredible comes in and hits us all with the cane. And he cracks the cane and it splits over my head. And I remember even in that moment thinking, oh, that was sweet. Like, I'm a huge Just Incredible guy.
Oh, I'm gonna need to look and see if I can find that somewhere. That'd be fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got to be on there somewhere, isn't it? We're kind of good because we go into Ring of Honor. So obviously you've worked a bit on, done a bit of indies, but Ring of Honor was where you first started. And you had some talent when you was in Ring of Honor. I mean, there was, guys like Briscoes and people like that, and Danielson.
I say this all the time, and this is one of the things that helped me in Ring of Honor, is that Gabe liked me because he knew he could always find me. If I didn't have a match, I was at the curtain. Because I'm literally surrounded by the best of them. I mean, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, the Briscoes. I mean, and the list goes on. And I mean, just Jimmy Rave, who was my best friend, right? Like Colt Cabana. I mean, the list just doesn't end of guys. And then Sal Rinauro. And I'm like, dude, I'm not supposed to be here. Like somebody messed up hardcore. Like I'm teaming with Tony freaking Mamaluke. None of this makes sense. I'm not supposed to be here. So like I would just sit by the curtains and just like watch, just like like I knew like, oh, I'm looking at the future of pro wrestling, right? Like I just want to, hopefully I can hang around long enough to be a part of it. Cause like that locker room, there's only 2 locker rooms I've ever felt like that, where it was this unified group effort that we knew like we're not the biggest dog in the fight, but there's something special here. And as long as we keep fighting, the crowd is going to come along because there's just a tangible something here that's and that's the Ring of Honor locker room and then the NWA locker room where it's no egos. It's a group effort. But that, it's a who's who today of pro wrestlers.
Definitely.
That like we were all just cutting our teeth with, and the best part is a lot of those guys I'm still in touch with, right? Like I'm still friends with. Like I said, I just did Monday Night Raw on Monday, and it's so crazy walking into these locker rooms and seeing guys like Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens lose their mind to see me. Right? Like, I don't know if you guys know this.
What was you doing on Raw last week?
I tried to stop Cody Rhodes, but he was just he was uncontrollable.
One of the police officers.
I was one of the 76 security guards.
This is going to be the first swear word, but holy shit, I didn't know that. I didn't have that. That's God.
Yeah, no, Cody handled his business.
He certainly did. Did you feel like, obviously you mentioned Ring of Honor, the locker room, there's, it was a big sort of camaraderie. And then you go backstage, like you back with Monday Night Raw last week. What is that like in the WWE? Because I can't imagine, that we're hearing tonight that there's script changes going on all over the place. I mean, last week, I don't know if there was, but what is that locker room? What is that like, WWE?
It's almost everything I can imagine, right? So like my very first extra spot was April of 2003.
Okay.
The night Gilbert showed up, the Rock concert, and Goldberg speared him.
Yeah, got it.
So I've been doing, I've been blessed to have been doing WWE extra spots for 20 years now.
Wow.
Which is this the first time I've even realized that, and that just kind of that takes me back. That seriously, like, holy crap! I've been I've been collecting WWE checks for 2 decades now. That's
That's impressive.
holy God! Like that just hit me, and so wow.
Sal's having a moment.
Yeah, no, like that's crazy, right? That's literally, like I said, first grade Miss Bradshaw's class. Like I'm gonna be a pro wrestler, and now it just hit me that for 20 years, off and on, I've been getting money from unreal. Um, but back to the question, it's just like it's so amazing watching, even if there's script rewrites, and I've seen it before, but just watching the machine in action.
Yeah.
You can't not learn. Like back in October, when I did the match with Omos, Triple H was in charge of it, right?
Yeah.
And like so, and another perfect example, the agent on both the spot with Cody last week and the Omos is Adam Pearce, who's another guy I know from Ring of Honor.
He has a great name as well, Adam. What a name.
Yeah, just and again, these guys are family. Like they're not just friends. Like I text Pierce hi on a Wednesday and he responds. Like, dude, like that's not how life is supposed to work, but I digress. But just Triple H, kind of babysat this almost match. And fortunately, my best friend was one of the guys with me. And as Triple H is talking, we're both nudging each other like, dude, did you hear that? Like, it's things that you think but until it's said, it doesn't click in your brain. And then he says it, and it's just like, oh my God, there's a whole new world out there. It's amazing. It's amazing. And again, that locker room is it's just a lot of people I know. So every time I'm lucky enough to go, it's almost like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Like, I had one of the guys that I brought with me to Raw this time, who I'm trying to help out. He's have you Star Wars Episode 7, where Rey and Han Solo finally are on the Millennium Falcon, and she goes, "Are the stories true?" And he goes, "All of them." He had that moment with me this week where he's heard me tell stories of me and Rollins, or me and Sammy, or me and this, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and he doesn't believe it. And then like we're standing around waiting, and Jamie Noble stops by. He's like, "Oh, come here, boy, I haven't seen you in forever." And he starts giving me hugs, and you can see the eyes get big, and he's like, "Oh my God, the stories, they're all real."
That is some incredible stories backstage at Raw. I'm going to play a game now. Fiona, you can join in as well on this.
Okay.
So we've mentioned a few names already, but we'll kick off with a couple more. I'm going to give you the name of a professional wrestler or a wrestling personality. And me as well, will say the first word or sentence that comes into your heads when I say it. Fiona, you can go first, and you may have
ladies first. Yeah,
ladies first. Of course, I'm a gentleman. I have to do that. I believe you've done an Inside the Ropes tour with this chap by the name of Cody Rhodes.
Oh wow, Cody, one of the smartest dressed men I know in wrestling. That's pretty much it. He's lovely. We had good times.
What do you think of Cody Rhodes, Sal?
Well, before last Monday, it would have been awesome. But after he knocked me out, he's a jerk. No, I think Cody's everything he's billed to be.
Yeah,
he's the man for a reason.
I've actually just put the American Nightmare being boring. I would say one thing. I did say that Brock Lesnar looked like the guy from Jeepers Creepers, the movie, with that long coat and hat.
So that's one of those things too, where I'm in the ring, like you walk through everything earlier in the day or whatever, but you don't put two and two together. When I was in the ring and Brock's music hit, that was a feeling I wasn't anticipating. That was nuts.
I had the same feeling. I was at the WrestleMania 28 when he debuted the next night on Raw.
Yeah.
With John Cena. Now, obviously, we had heard the rumors that he may be, and you take it with a pinch of salt. When that music hit, as you said, I lost my shit, and I think
Yeah.
everybody and everyone else did. But yeah, that was the crazy bit. The next one on the list, and Sal, you can go first. You've probably had a relationship with both these guys, the Briscoes.
Oh my God, love. I've known them since we knew each other when we were teenagers. I mean,
Wow.
we legitimately grew up together. Yeah, I mean, we were babies. we were, you know, I would probably have my driver's license for 6 months when we met.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it just pure, unadulterated love. I mean, just you know, losing Jay. Jay was a Raiders fan, a Las Vegas Raiders fan, American football, like me. And that was our bond, right? Because like there were some real lean years where nobody cared about the Raiders but us, and that was one of our connections. And then when they showed up, you know, when they showed up to do the Crockett Cup stuff, you know, I mean, it was like we hadn't seen each other for 17 seconds. I mean, we picked right back up, and at the beginning of the loop, I had told them, hey, I don't know why, but my youngest son, who's my mini-me, lost his mind when I told him the Briscoes were going to be there. Keep in mind, like, in our house, like, Xavier Woods isn't Xavier Woods because I helped train him.
Yeah.
So he's Uncle Austin in our house, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, we go to his house, or like a Seth Rollins or guys like that, where my kids know that I'm friends with Daniel Bryan, you know, slept in my oldest son's bed, right? But like when I told my youngest son the Briscoes were going to be there, he was like, no way, I don't believe you know the Briscoes. Like, what? So I told them at the beginning of the loop, like, hey, I've got to take a picture with you guys just to validate myself and my kids. And I completely forgot about it. At the end of the loop, Jay stopped me. He was like, oh, we got to get your boy that picture. I was like, oh my God, thank you. So I go to take the picture and they go, no, let's shoot a video. So like I've got a video of Mark and Jay and myself where, you know, they're just
amazing.
You know, where Jay, you know, Jay's giving me a big hug and he kisses me on the head. And, you know, we've known your dad for a long time. We love this man. And at the time it was special, but you know, in light of the tragedy, it means that much more.
Of course it does.
But
yeah, go on. Fiona, you'll go.
I've got to say Crockett Cup last year. First time I'd actually seen them in person. First trip to the NWA. First Crockett Cup. So yeah, Crockett Cup for me.
My one was Ring of Honor. That's what I put because they come over here and they were wrestling over here as part of Ring of Honor. So I and they were one of the greatest tag teams that I've seen. And God rest his soul. And yeah, it's a shame what happened. Next one, I'll start. Claudio Castagnoli, and I've put pretty much the most underrated wrestler that's ever walked across the face of the earth. That was mine. Fiona, what's yours for Claudio?
Oh, that's a tough one for me. I've not actually seen him wrestle in person, or I'm pretty sure I haven't seen him wrestle in person. I don't think I've been any. Yeah, I don't think I've seen him like live on any of the tours in the UK. So, I've not met him. So wow.
How about
the
Swiss Superman?
Yeah, what's that?
Swiss Superman.
Swiss Superman. Well, yeah. No, I like watching him on the TV. Basically, I think he's talented. He did some stuff with Sheamus and things, didn't he?
Yeah, the tag team.
Yeah. So I remember that. That's kind of what I would probably go with that. That's probably what I remember most of. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Claudio.
Dad jokes. And I say that. So when Claudio first came over, we shared some locker rooms together, and I love a dad joke. I've always loved dad jokes, and so does he.
Great.
So that was one way we would always greet each other, is just if we would hear a stupid dad joke, like, oh, I got to write that down for Claudio. Yeah. And so that's, to this day, when I run into him, we like we laugh at these really, like, my favorite joke of all time is what's orange and sounds like a parrot?
Don't know.
A carrot.
Wow.
That's the kind of jokes.
I'm going to save that one.
Yeah,
My
he
kids
likes
will
his
like that as well.
he likes
It's
his
the
coffee
best
as
joke
well, doesn't
ever.
he? He likes his coffee.
Yes, he does. He
Yeah,
definitely does.
We got something in common there. Right, next one. Sal, you can go first. Colt Cabana.
Boom, boom. Uh he's that's my guy, right? Like
Yeah,
we did the Wrestling Road Diaries together,
you did.
which he's another one of those guys. So in the South here, Jimmy Rave, who was my best friend, was the first guy to break in up north. And he would come back with these tales of all these Northerners, right? Like, and he was like, dude, there's this guy named Colt Cabana that you would love him if you ever got together. And the Ted Petty Invitational Tournament in 2004 was the first time I met him. And within 2 minutes, we were in love. It was just I love Cabana to death. He's just a great guy, and I mean, he's the best. He taught me so much about the business of the business, and I'm forever grateful for Colt Cabana.
I'm going to say return because he's not just long return. Oh, you nicked mine. All right, boom, boom. I'm just going to say return. Long return back to Ring of Honor. So that's mine.
Yes,
Me.
yes.
Yours.
This is actually quite a personal one for me.
Okay.
He'd been overworking at my local promotion with us, and my little boy had met him, who might only been about 4 or 5 at the time. Couldn't say his name, and he will forever be known in my house as Coco Banana.
Nice.
So Coco Banana is Coco Banana, and anytime I've seen him since, I've had to stop and be like, "Cool," not calling him Coco because he'll be like that.
Yeah. Right.
So
next
no,
one.
call him Coco Banana, please. Just call him Coco Banana.
Gimmick that is going to be going forward. 2 left. Fee, Brian Danielson.
Yes.
Yes. I've literally got in my opinion, one of the greatest of all time, because for me he was. Sal.
Absolutely no. That's kind of where my brain is. He's the best. He's the best pro wrestler of his generation.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And I get that's my opinion, and I have to fight people about this sometimes. So like, like I said, I used to sit at the curtain and watch him go an hour with, and like, I grew up with AJ. Like when AJ Styles was breaking into Georgia, I was here with him. Right. So like, but it's not a slide on AJ. It's not a slide on a guy like Rollins. But Brian's the best, period. I've seen him. One of my favorite Brian things is one time we were in Buffalo. I don't know why I remember it was Buffalo, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. And Brian and I were just sitting there. Brian used to love to harass me, right? Like that was just his thing. But Brian's, he was in the Wrestling Road Diaries. It was me, Brian, and Cabana, right? That's a bond. That's a thing that can never be broken. But we were sitting there, and Sarah Del Rey came up to Brian and goes, "Hey, I've got this thing tonight. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work." And Brian sits there, he goes, "Well, just go out and get it over." And she goes, "Brian, we're not all you." Whatever you that's not how it works for normal human beings. Only you have the ability to just go out and make anything work. And that's Brian. He just goes out and makes anything work.
He is. Last one, and this is the one you need to be careful of. I'm going to go first to get it out of the way. Billy Corgan, and I've just put Smashing Pumpkins. So, Ryan, Fee.
Smashing Pumpkins for me, I saw him in Glasgow do an acoustic set halfway through a tour in Europe, and he was phenomenal. I hadn't really listened to much of their stuff before, but as a solo artist on stage with a guitar and a piano, spot on. Such a good gig.
Okay, be careful, Sam. Not that I'm going to tag him.
Oh, no. This is actually easy for me, and I'm not going to get in trouble. Awestruck. It still just blows me away that Billy Corgan knows my name.
Jeremiah Price said the same thing. He said, "I get a call from the guy that runs the Smack, that it's a Smashing Pumpkins."
Yeah. So the second set of tapings of Power, I was the very first match in the history of NWA Power, and like I did 2 matches that night. The second set, I was in the hallway talking to Caleb Conley, who I've known. I think I was Caleb's 7th match. I've
Okay.
known Caleb a long, long time. And we're, just catching up and, telling stupid stories about, beating each other up in underwear and all that stuff. And I see Billy headed in our direction. And in my brain, I go, well, the superstar is coming to talk to the superstar. I better step back. I don't want to be intrusive. And Billy walks right up to us and then turns to me and goes, "Hey, Sal, do you have a minute?" And my brain just turned off. Well, Billy Corgan knows my name. Like, that doesn't, like, what is happening? And still to this day, when we got done with the last set of stuff in Chicago, I went to go ask him, hey, what'd you think? How's everything? And he was just like, he was gushing almost. And I'm just like, dude, you're you. Stop it. That's not how, this is not how life works, Billy Corgan.
So,
You're super famous and do super famous rock star stuff. And I fake fight in my underwear. Like, we're not the same.
So, Billy, that's Sal's pitch for some extra dollars at the next.
Yeah.
He's pitched it well. It kind of leads us on quite nicely to the NWA. I mean, what was your thoughts when it came back? Because obviously it was a massive entity back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Went away, obviously for whatever reason, and then it comes back.
So I'm a self-professed wrestling nerd. I'm just like, it's my jam, right? Like, today I was just reading up about the Shalleck screw job in 1938 because
wow, okay.
Why would I?
Notes, but that's
yeah, like, right? Like, why no human being on the planet should be doing that? Here I am enthralled with this. So when I heard NWA was coming back and coming to Atlanta, I reached out immediately. Hey, I'm an hour south of Atlanta. Like, I would love to take part in this. And I get no word back, right? So I'm crushed. Like, oh, well, I guess it's not meant to be. Well, the first taping was a Monday. That Friday before, I get a call. Hey, are you available Monday? Oh, I'm 1,000,000,000% available, right? So I walk in Monday and I stepped right out of my DeLorean into 1985, right? Like, Michael J. Fox is with me. Like, and of course, like, I step onto the stage and it's what I grew up watching. So I'm just in complete, like, oh my God, they encapsulated everything. Like, it's perfect. And of course, who's the first two people I see walking by? Ricky and Robert. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening here? This is unreal.
That's crazy.
Like, it's even more unreal just because, like, Ricky and Robert know me. So like, they're like, hey boy, good to see you. And I'm just like, again, like, this isn't how life works. Ricky and Robert aren't supposed to walk up to me on the NWA stage and, not just say hello, but recognize. Like, it's just unreal. But even when I showed up, I went to who I was booked through, who was Bill Behrens, who's my part-time agent. And I was like, well, what's the play? And he goes, well, do you want to be X or Y? And I go, what does that mean? And he goes, well, do you want to be X or Y? And I go, well, Y can be a vowel and a consonant. So I guess I'll be Y because I can do everything. And he goes, all right, good. You're wrestler Y. And they post up the card, and it's wrestler X and wrestler Y versus the Dawsons. And I'm like, oh, that's how important I am to the grand scheme of things, right? I don't even have my name on the card. But I just did this a couple weeks ago. If you go back and look at who's left from that initial season, there's not many of us.
There's not at all.
No, and it's wild to think about the talent that we've seen come and go, but like, at the same time, man, like, I feel like we're hitting on all cylinders right now. Like, that Chicago taping was awesome. Like, it was really, like, again, the Ring of Honor locker room and the NWA locker room, the only two locker rooms I felt like there's this group effort that we all want everybody to succeed. It's not the backstabbing and the, guys just looking out for themselves. Like, we want the NWA product to work, because if the product works, then we all have work and we all win.
Yeah.
And like that unity it's so special. It's such a great place to be, and I just it still surprises me just at this stage in my career, where like in 2010 I thought I was done.
Yeah,
I was good. Like I had a good. By the time 2010 had rolled along, I'd already been Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion.
Yeah.
I'd already traveled the globe. Like, I thought I had pretty much peaked, and I could just take a couple bookings here and there, and I'm good to go. And the NWA itself has just reinvigorated every want and need I want from pro wrestling, and like it's so special. It's such a great place to be, and I feel like I keep hearing little whispers from guys up top. This could be opening up and this could be opening up, but it's all positive, right? Like, I genuinely think if people give it a shot, they're not going to regret it.
No, exactly that. I mean, I felt the same. I was talking to Santina Marella last week, and I was saying that, even Impact Wrestling now, it went through its peaks and troughs. It had its really bad times.
Yeah.
And it's now quietly, a bit like NWA, it's quietly going about its business. It's, obviously the WWE's up here, AW's there.
Yes.
But it's quite, I mean, they sold out 5 shows now, that 5 pay-per-views, and the talent there, like the NWA, the talent there is just
top notch.
Top notch. And it's great though, because I hated it when WWE bought the competition, because it really limited everyone, to be able to go places. And
yes.
now, obviously, we had the pandemic, which shut everything down pretty much. And now, even British wrestling, Fiona, you can agree on this now, is really, I mean, last couple of years, it is absolutely thriving. Yeah, exactly that. Right. Last game before we start to finish up. It's called Shot Clock. I haven't got a clock and I haven't got any shots. It's a school night. I've got work tomorrow. I'm going to ask you a question, and you just, again, it's a quick answer bit for it, but we're all going to play it. Sal, I'm going to start with you. What is the best belt design in wrestling that's ever been made?
I'm a sucker for the Winged Eagle. That's just the belt. Like, when I was a kid, that was the belt.
Okay, Pete.
I'm going to go £10 gold for me, Sweet Charlotte. I'm going with that. That's cool. My wrestling belt.
Right. I was going to say the Wind Eagle, but as that's taken, I've got, and the only reason I'm going to say it now is because I've got it signed by the man himself. I have got the Rated R spinner, the Edge.
Cool.
And that's because
super cool.
And he signed it. He was over doing a London Comic Con years ago now. No, about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, right, I've been to WrestleMania. I didn't get it signed. I need to get it signed. And I did.
Yes.
The guy, I mean, I've met him a few times because he's one of my heroes. And yeah, I can't wait. He's now locked away. And my son hasn't got it. I had to get my son a Universal Championship to get so this is the question that's going to be difficult for me and Fee to answer, because it is a wrestling-based question as more of a performer side. So I'll have a go, and then Fee, you'll go, and then Sal, you've probably got more experience in this. So it's called Dream Match. So if I was in the ring, I would want to go against Kurt Angle.
Okay. If I was in the ring, I would want to go against Lita.
Lita, brilliant. Sal.
Yeah.
This has got 2 answers for me.
Okay.
One is Shawn Michaels. I mean, he's just. I was at WrestleMania 12, and I remember that feeling when he won the belt. I'm 13 years old, and like that was kind of the stamp, right? That was the I wanted to be a wrestler. I want to be a wrestler. I'm at WrestleMania 12. I'm at the Iron Man match. They go into overtime. Shawn hits the super kick, 1, 2, 3, and it was like, oh, now I just don't have any other choices.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a backup plan. Shawn's my guy. Like, and the other answer is the Boogeyman.
Oh, nice.
I would love. I'm such a boogeyman guy.
Oh man.
So
I met him. He still
holding it.
gives me the fear.
Oh my
He's
god.
the best.
He's we'll do one more. Just because I'm mindful of time. Best entrance music in wrestling. Who has the best entrance? Now this is a killer. This kills everybody. Fee, we'll start with you.
Right. I think the last time you asked me that, I said Bobby Roode because I just like the whole
Glorious.
like just the whole glorious, and I thought it was great.
Yes.
And I've been thinking about it ever since though, and I'm like, I think that was the first thing that came into my mind. And now I'm like, it's not the greatest really that I think. Oh no.
Stumps a lot of people.
It's hard. Like iconic,
Mhm.
Stone Cold or The Undertaker's bongs for
Yeah.
that, for just the pure iconicness of it. Like, yeah, I'm stuck.
Sal, what about you?
Oh, this is my son will do this to me. It was like, what's the best song ever? I'm like, dude, that's almost an impossible question
It
because
is.
there's about 86 billion. One of the first ones that always comes to my brain though is Billy and Chuck. You look so good to me. It was that's one of those songs that when it comes on, I can't be in a bad mood. It's literally impossible.
No, that's
Like,
fine.
but I mean, just like I said, I'm a wrestling nerd and I've studied.
Yeah.
So like, there's something just incredible. Snap your finger, snap your neck.
I used that on Instagram when we announced him.
That's a road trip banger for me and my buddy. Like, especially when I start getting drowsy at 3 a.m. and I'm driving, he'll pull that up. And start rocking out.
Usually,
I mean, there's.
Oh, go on. You can give him one, have you?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's with my baby tonight, or just the instrumental.
It's instrumental.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, there's so I mean, Real American. Maybe not so much for you guys, but trust me, when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, I'm ready. All right, like let's go.
Such a hard question.
It is. It stumps everybody. Because
loaded.
normally I say Triple H or Edge, the Game or Metangulis. Today I'm going to go with one that I mentioned actually on a separate podcast, and I'm going to go with Voodoo Child, Jimi Hendrix, the Hogan song.
Yes,
a brilliant one for me. Right, we're going to wrap this up. Sal, why don't you tell us? Excuse me. Where the fans can find you, what you've got coming up, and what's your social handles?
Yeah, you can find me at Sal Rinauro. That's SALRINAURO. A lot of vowels. I didn't pick the name. I was born with it. That's the Twitter handle. You can find me on Instagram at Sal_Rinauro because I messed up making the at Sal Rinauro one. I don't know what happened there. So at Sal Rinauro on Twitter, at Sal_Rinauro on Instagram. You can also find me, most importantly, at prowrestlingtees.com/Sal Rinauro, where you can get one of these lovely shirts.
I thought it was Sami Zayn on the front of that from me.
Oh, no, that's me.
I like that one. That's me. Cool.
I got this, and I think like 6 other designs. I got a couple more in the making. So keep your eyes tuned out for that. You can find me. Really, the best way to see what I got coming up is following all my socials. In the next month, I'll be in New Level Pro Wrestling, Gadsden, Alabama. I'll be at Southern Fried Wrestling in somewhere, Georgia. We've got the Crockett Cup coming up in June 3rd and 4th. You can see that'll be in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, or live on Fight TV. You can find me usually, hopefully every Tuesday, 6:05 Eastern on YouTube, NWA Power.
And occasionally on Monday Night Raw, being a police officer.
Yeah, every once in a while, I show up on Raw or SmackDown. Or, maybe a Ring of Honor, but you didn't hear that from me.
Oh, is that a scoop? Okay, we won't say. Tony Khan, don't worry, he's not listening. I don't.
Yeah, it's okay.
Anyway, Fee, what have you got coming up?
I've got 3 shows this weekend with Worldwide Wrestling League. So I've got that coming up Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What else have I got coming up? I've got some Premier British Wrestling on the 4th of May. British Championship Wrestling on the 9th of June.
Yep.
I've also got some more One Pro Wrestling in June, and there's various kind of galas and bits and pieces coming up, so I'll be emceeing most of them. Yep. In terms of socials, kind of like Sal, I am at Trixie Licks on Twitter and at Trixie_Licks on Instagram.
All the cool kids.
All the cool kids, exactly.
That's it.
Fee, I know there's also in the works. There's an Inside the Rope show. Obviously, they're starting.
There will be. It's not been announced.
No,
Kenny's hinted. I'll be completely honest with you. He doesn't tell me until the last minute because he knows I might get really excited and just go before it comes out. So I don't know. There is a show in Glasgow coming up in the summer. I don't know who it's with. I don't know where it is or when it is. We will find out soon enough.
To keep an eye on Inside the Ropes handles. Now, guys, I'm sorry to have to do this. I've got to plug a lot of stuff now because we're doing a lot of stuff. So if you want to go to sleep, if you want to take, do what you want to do. Okay. So we're back on Wednesday. Wednesday, I'm going to be a bit of a fanboy. Now, we're doing some wrestling crossovers with sports, and we one in particular is darts. Sal, I don't know how big darts is over there.
I love darts.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. So
yes.
The guy that we've got coming on Wednesday, his name is Paul Nicholson. Now, he was a professional dart player a good few years ago. He is someone that... So we had Phil Taylor, who was the greatest dart player ever picked up a dart. Now, Paul Nicholson took him on in the match play quarterfinals, come out and done CM Punk's entrance. It's clobbering time, done all of that stuff, sat on the stage on, cross-legged, waiting for Phil Taylor to come out, and he beat him. Anyway, long story short, he beat him. He's a diehard wrestling fan. I'm gonna struggle to do that on Wednesday, to be honest. It's gonna be difficult for me. But he's a great guy. He's coming on Wednesday. On Thursday, the 27th, it's Rusev Day for me and Andy because I've got to get this guy's surname right. Matthew Raywald, Aiden English.
Yes.
He's coming on Thursday for a good old chimwag. Then we've got someone from WNXT UK, Flash Morgan Webster's coming on May 4th. Nice. Yeah, he's coming on the May 4th. May the 11th, we have the Professor Bobby Fish coming on
saw them both at the weekend. Actually, they were both at One Pro Wrestling.
Yes, you did. They was, and I was jealous. So he's coming on to educate us, apparently. So he says. The 18th, we've got Just Incredible, like I've already mentioned. Today, and literally a few hours before we come on air today, we announced another one on the 23rd of May. We've got EC3 coming on.
Yes.
Coming on. And finally, the only last one I can announce at the moment, there is a couple more in the works. On June 15th, a week before my birthday, we're going to be very pleasured. We're going to have Angelina Love joining us on.
Angel's the best.
Yes, we've got her coming on. That's the guests. Now I've got to do the sponsors. Okay. So we are sponsors of Pro Wrestling Carnage, is an independent wrestling company in Wales. We're also the sponsors of the Tag Team Champions of Pro Wrestling Carnage, the most best name in wrestling that's ever done. Beers and Beatdowns. What a great name as a tag team. The veterans of the sport. We're going to be doing some merchandise with them. So they're going to be doing some new designs. That's going to have the Hit in the Turnbuckle logo on it. 27th of April, 3 days time, Fiona Inside the Ropes magazine comes out. If you get that, you'll see us in there. Yeah, we got a little bit of advertisement going on. Ignite Wrestling Pro is another one of our sponsors. They have a show, The Bitter End, on the 30th. I'm going actually Sunday. And because the reason why I'm going is their next event on the 23rd of July is called Buckle Up, because we have covered the event for them. So it's going to be a co-production between Hitting the Turnbuckle and Ignite Wrestling Pro. So we're going to be doing that on the 23rd of July. There is Jurassic Pro Wrestling, yes, after Jurassic Park, if you're wondering. So their next show is June the 4th. It's called Primal Instincts, and yes, they have a Fatal Claw Way match for the Lost World Championship. And I still have beef with the lost world champion, the saucy geezer that is Nick Payne. We had a interview where he didn't have an opponent at the last show until it was announced later on that night, and he was calling me Gilberg. So yeah, we've got a bit of beef going on there. And then lastly, Corey McRae, who's a British wrestling superstar, was over in Austria last weekend. We sponsor him. He's going to be at Ignite as well on Sunday. And finally, and I can rest my voice, Matt Cast, who is an amateur dart player that's looking to get into the pro circuit. We sponsor him, and he's got a competition coming up the same time, bank holiday weekend in May. So round about the King's coronation that we've got to get ready for. He's going to be doing the Windmill Challenge. So we wish him well, and that about sums up everything that we're doing at the minute. I can breathe, and
while you breathe, two things. One, when you get EC3 on, ask him about his toe socks.
Toe socks.
Toe socks.
Oh, that's
he's very.
I'll get toe socks.
He's very pro toe socks. This is something I just found out recently. And when you were talking about the Buckle Up show, I really thought you were going to announce Bob Sparkplug Holly was going to be there. And I was going to start buying tickets immediately.
Well, you can have a ticket anyway. There is going to be an announcement at that show, which is part of the next phase of what we're doing with Ignite. I'll tell you off air, so you get a scoop before.
Yes.
So guys, Sal, it's been a pleasure. I could talk to you for hours, but unfortunately, as I said, it's near midnight over here in the UK.
Yes, go rest, please.
I've got to go get to sleep. Fee, thank you again for doing this. We're going to have some...
Robs. Good to be back.
Yeah, you'll be back on again, no doubt, because we're going to have some more of the guys from the NWA coming on in the near future. We're just trying to sort out dates and what have you. Again, Sal, thank you so much. Guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. My second one of the day. I've been your host, Adam Cousins. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you soon.